Yeah, thanks, Ben. Thank you all for coming. Uh, we had a good day today. It was a good start. I thought we put some money in the bank. In our out of season conditioning program, our Spartan training program, we had 8 weeks of running and lifting and drill work and walkthroughs and meetings. And I feel like our guys did a really good job. I give my hat goes off to Coach Novak and his staff in our weight room. I believe your team is built in the weight room, and they did a fantastic job. Our guys are all bought in what we're doing in the weight room, what we're doing in nutrition with Amber, and we were very prepared for spring practice today. And what we're looking for in the spring is to gain ground and get better. And that's really what it's all about. It's the third phase of our out of season, and it really sets the tone for our summer conditioning program, and then we'll roll that into fall camp. But our focus is on being best conditioned. These are the foundation of our program, and playing with great technique and fundamentals, playing smart, playing fast, playing physical. Um, the job of a coach is to teach, motivate, and develop players, and so this is all part of that process. To gain ground, trust the process. Today was a day to do that. We have 15 practices. We're going Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for 5 weeks, and we don't have 1 day to waste. And I felt like today we were very productive. It was very competitive, but it's really just one step in the process, a very important step. And I was, we're excited to be out there. Just to think that a year ago we didn't have this opportunity, it just really blows my mind. When I think back, and that we didn't get a chance to do any of this, and so we're going to make the most of it. I was really pleased with what we did today. So it was bright and early. So I'll open up for questions.
Thanks, Coach. We'll start with Matt Charbonneau, the Detroit News.
Hey, Mel, good to see you. I'm going to touch on a little bit of what you said there. Does this kind of, considering the way last spring went and everything kind of going crazy there, does this feel almost like a fresh start? Like this is kind of a little bit like your first year, even though it's not really the case, but does it feel a little bit different like that?
It doesn't feel like my first year, certainly. It's really not a fresh start. It's just more of a normal out of season. That's what it feels like. There's been a lot of work, preparation that's gone into this program leading up to this point, including everything we did, last season and then this off season. And it's been a grind for the staff and for the players, and so again, it's part of the process, and so we embrace it. But I realize that I've been here over a year, and we got a lot of work to do.
And you mentioned at the end of the year, you guys are going to be active in the portal. You talked about it on signing day as well. You've got some early enrollees, guys on the way out, guys on the way in. How important has it been kind of getting all the new faces and everybody kind of used to where they're at, getting them on board and kind of getting them going in the system there?
It's very important. We're not here just to collect players. We're here to build a team. That's very important. Team chemistry is a big part of the game of football. I mean, it's the ultimate team sport. So not only do we need to acquire the players that can make us better and help us win, but we have to develop a team, and the unselfishness, the togetherness, the chemistry that it takes to have a winning football team. And so this is any opportunity that we have to be together, whether it's in the weight room, in the meeting room, on the field, we have to take advantage of it. We have to connect, and so far so good.
Our next question is from Chris Solar, the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Mel, good to see you. I guess for you, getting out on the field at this time of the year, Uh, what's the feeling like, and beyond just the long wait and the off season and all of that? I mean, this is usually when the building process does begin. I guess, how do you channel that to these guys in terms of getting the most out of them coming out of last year?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's good to see you, Chris. It's how do you get the most out of your players? Like I said, I mean, that's our job as coaches, is to teach, motivate, and develop. And um, spring ball is important because you do actually get a chance to get out on the grass and coach and play the game of football. What can you take from the classroom, in the meeting room? What can you carry over onto the field, into the game of football? What can you carry? How does the weight room, and the running and lifting, how does that translate into actual performance on the field? And so, that's what this is all about. This is a developmental time for us. I mean, it's scheme development, it's technique and fundamentals, it's team chemistry, everything that goes to building a winning program and cementing a culture of accountability, attention to detail, sense of urgency, all those things. This is a great time uh, to build upon everything that we've done up until this point. And so, I was excited to get out on the field. There's nothing out there but green grass and opportunity.
As an aside to that, I mean, there's obviously been the roster shakeup with guys coming in. We noticed a couple of the bigger names that weren't coming back for this year, with Jordan Reed, Dotson, and Trey Person. I mean, they're the three guys that played a lot of football here. I guess, can you share some insight into the decisions that some of those guys made, and maybe some of the guys who did decide to come back, like our Curry and Campbell, and trying to make that work here with all the nuances of COVID year?
I mean, every player has to make a decision based upon what he thinks is best for him, and we support those decisions. In the first year, there's going to be some movement, there's going to be some attrition, and I know that, I understand that, and we're prepared for that. But that's not going to slow us down. We're going to do what we have to do to build our football team. And the purpose of recruiting is to improve your team, just like the purpose of the draft and free agency is to improve your team. And so, the players that have stayed with us, they believe in what we're doing, and they bought into our culture, and they feel like this is what they want. What we're doing in our program, what we're teaching, our philosophy, our culture, is something that resonates with the players that are here, and that's also what has attracted players to our program. And we have a tremendous coaching staff, tremendous support staff. It's a great university. We have a lot to sell, and we're in the building stages of something that we believe is going to be something special.
Next question, Lindsey Huddleston.
Hey, Mel, good to see you. Nice setup, by the way. This is March, and we are talking football, but with March Madness, I'm just curious, is there any added pressure for you or your program after the early departure of the Spartans from the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, thanks, Leslie. Always good to see you. I don't feel any added pressure. I mean, pressure is it's an interesting word. How do you look at pressure? And, what really is pressure? To me, pressure is a privilege. Pressure, means that people care. But the amount of pressure that we put on ourselves internally is, I don't even know if you can measure it, because we have an experienced coaching staff, we have motivated players, and we know what the expectations are. We know what we have our own standards, we have goals, we have intrinsic motivation, and I can't. There's never been. I've never coached anywhere where the expectation was not to win every game. I mean, I can't. I mean, whether it was Michigan State when I was here in the '90s, late '90s, or Miami of Ohio, or LSU, or Ohio State, or Cleveland, Jacksonville, Chicago, Alabama, Georgia. I mean, you're expected to win, and so I mean, there's no external factor that's going to affect our process and our preparation, and there's no additional pressure, you know. But whatever pressure we do have is a privilege, and not only do you accept the pressure and embrace it, but you also apply it.
Our next question is from Stephen Brooks with 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Mel, hope you're doing well. Wanted to ask you, how did, you talked about it earlier, just the stop and start nature of last year, where you guys had people learning over Zoom, and then you're in camp, and then you're not, and then you got to rush to start the season. Just the way that all went, how did that affect how you planned for this spring season? Because I would imagine just with the time constraints, there were some things that you guys just couldn't really get to or couldn't go as deep on maybe last year as you wanted. How did that all affect just how you plan this spring ball and maybe get to some things that just time wouldn't allow for last year?
Yeah, we approached this spring like we would normally approach a spring, outside of a pandemic, knowing that we were going to have spring practice, that we were going to have all the time that we would normally have, and what happened last spring or last season is I mean, it's just really in the past. I mean, it's a factor. It's certainly a factor in our preparation, but what I never wanted to do is, and I never wanted to use COVID and lack of spring practice, or only having 14 seniors, and I mean anything you can think of. I mean, I didn't want to use that as an excuse for anything. I didn't even really want to bring it up, didn't want to talk about it, because nobody cares. At the end of the day, I mean, I'm sure there's some type of understanding, or being realistic or practical about the situation, but at the end of the day, I mean, nobody really cares about that. It's just really bottom line production, and so there's no sense even really talking about it. Just do what you need to do. We have a more normal situation now, and so we're full speed ahead, and planning to gain ground and raise the bar. I mean, it's really time to get after it and see what we have and build this football team. We have a lot of work to do. We're going to make the most of every day that we have.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Matt Wenzel with M Live.
Hey, Mel, we saw the schedule today with the spring game listed for the 24th of April. I was wondering, one, what the format is you guys are planning on, and two, is that something you think is going to be open to fans given the current restrictions and things like that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be open to the fans. I hope that it is. I love to get the fans in there, and I would like to have a game, to have a real spring game. It's going to depend on how many players we have available at that time. But it's you want to put the players in as many game-like situations as you can. In college, you don't get preseason games like you do in the NFL, and so anytime you get a chance to scrimmage or play a game, you want to take advantage of those opportunities, because everything that we do, we want to try to make it as game-like as possible, without wearing our guys out and banging them up and getting a lot of guys hurt. So certainly a spring game with fans, loud, buzz. Love to shoot. I like to have the band out there, get the cheerleaders out there, get the mascot out there. I mean, let's just get the whole thing going. Get the whole thing going if we can. But that's to be determined. How much of that we'll be able to do. We'll see.
And with the quarterback situation, you've obviously had some movement with Rocky leaving. You bring in Anthony and Hamp joins as an early enrollee. I was wondering, from these 15 spring practices you clearly didn't get when trying to find a quarterback last year, what are you looking for in that position group between now and the end of spring practice?
We have an open competition, and I believe your quarterback has to be your number one competitor on your team. So first and foremost, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for leadership, and we're looking for someone who can execute, and run our offense efficiently and effectively. We have some talented players in that room, in that quarterback room, and Coach Johnson is an accomplished quarterbacks coach and play caller, and he's very detail oriented. He's an excellent teacher. He knows the position. He played the position, and we know what we need out of that room. And so our job is to get it out of the players that we do have, and I'm confident that we can get that done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Jason Lewis.
Hey, Mel, I hope you're doing well. One of the guys that you added through the portal this offseason was Ben Van Sumeren. There's no question he's a weight room guy for sure. But what have you been most impressed with him, and what drew you to him, considering, last year was his first year really playing linebacker on the college level?
I don't know, Ben, am I allowed to talk about him?
Yeah, unfortunately, Jason, I can only talk about the people that are on the spring roster at this point in time. So
I didn't realize he wasn't on the spring roster yet, so my bad.
That's okay. Our next question will go to Rainer Saban with the Detroit Free Press.
Hi, Mel. Obviously this is, I guess, the first time you're going into the second year of a program that you're leading. How important is the second year versus the first year? And can an argument be made that the second year is more important than the first year, because the first year is just, again, getting familiar with the roster and kind of undergoing the attrition that you talked about in the past?
Yeah, that's a really good that's a good question, and really good perspective. The first year is very important because that's the first year is where you come in and where you shift the culture, and you basically lay it down and say, this is what it's going to be, and you hammer that every single day, whether it's a culture of accountability or discipline, how we work, how we practice, how we meet, our language, how we talk to each other, our mindset, our mental disposition towards competing. That all happens in from the day that the day you walk in the door and you take the job and you hire the staff. I mean, you're building from that point. So the first year is important, and then you continue to build and grow, develop the culture, cement the culture, recruit, add players, and work through the attrition, and continue to work towards building a strong and winning football team. So the second year is you should see improvement, and that's what it's all about. You usually see quite a bit of improvement because the players understand what's expected, in the weight room, and from the coaches. There's standards, the expectation. The players know the coaches a lot better, and the coaches know the players, and so there's better connection, better understanding, and then more of what your returning players can do, which is important because you have to do what your players can do, and you have to be able to adapt your schemes on both sides of the ball and special teams to fit your players. And so I've been in situations where we've had tremendous success in year two, and so it's we'll see how it goes. But like right now, our focus is just on getting better, gaining ground, just being relentless in everything that we do, our effort, our intensity, our focus. Just taking it, just one step at a time, just really focusing on the process, not so much on the outcome, but what we have to do on a daily basis to build and get to where we want to get to.
And how much do you anticipate seeing the roster change between now and the beginning of preseason camp? I mean, do you see, maybe more attrition after spring practice and roles get solidified a little bit more, and then also bringing in more players from elsewhere?
Yeah, there may be some more attrition. We'll have to see. Typically, after spring ball, there's usually some changes on the roster, and we're certainly going to look to add some more players from the portal. Recruiting, that's big. I mean, we're going to look to add guys all the way until we start fall camp. That's the name of the game, is get the best players that you can find, and teach them and motivate them and develop them, and you have to have good players to have a chance to compete and win games in this conference and beyond. And it's the Jimmies and the Joes. It's not the X's and the O's. It's the guys wearing the pants is what really matters.
Thanks.
Our next question is from Jim Comparoni with Spartan Magazine.
Hey, Mel, great to see you today. The tight end position, Matt Dotson, not on the roster, heard some things, might have had a setback there. Your thoughts on the tight end position and what you have coming back there, and have you seen any development through the winter? I know you haven't gotten in pads yet or anything, but what do you see about the tight end position right now?
Yeah, we have a nice group of players that are going to compete for playing time. So we have the numbers, and we just have to develop. We have a group that they're just range in body types and skill sets, and so we love to use our tight ends. We always have a tight end on the field or two, and so we need to find guys that can block at the point of attack. We need to get better in that area, and then we also need guys that can that can run and catch the ball and do a great job in that area, and hopefully you can develop a couple guys that can do it all. And so I like our group. Coach Gilmore he's a true pro. He really knows what he's doing. He's a technician. He coaches after every single rep. He doesn't let anything slide. His attention to detail, his intensity, his focus, and his teaching is at a very, very, very high level. So the guys that we have, I believe that we're going to be able to get the best out of them. Whatever they have to give, we'll get it.
All right, also at defensive end, Brandon Wright is a young man who I think has changed position. Is that an experiment, or does that look like it's gaining some traction there? I think he got some work on defense in the fall. What do you think about him at defensive end? And also one transfer you can talk about, I think, is on the roster is Drew Jordan. Your initial impressions of him there at the defensive end position. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Brandon Wright. I would say more in the fall that was more of an experiment. Right now, he's a defensive end, and we're going to develop him there. He can rush, and we need edge pressure. We need edge rushers. We need to have speed off the edge. You can't really get pressure on the quarterback with four guys if you don't have great pocket push inside and speed off the edge. And if you can't get pressure with 4 guys, then you have to rely on pressures and blitzes to get home, which is you're not going to be a very good defense if you have to rely solely on pressures to get to the quarterback. So we feel like he can give us something that's much needed on the edge. Drew Jordan is fitting in well. I know I got a lot of background information on Drew during the process of of getting him here. One of his coaches was one of my quality control guys in Jacksonville, and so he was the right fit for us. He stepped in. He's mature. He's played a lot of football, played a lot of snaps. He started as a young player, as a freshman, and he's also going to be able to give us what we need as a rusher on the edge, but he's stout against the run as well. Good football player, and I believe he's going to emerge as a leader for us. I really like him. I'm glad he's here. He's a huge acquisition for us.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Our next question is from Justin Rose with WXYZ in Detroit.
Mel, good to see you. Can you put on your forecaster hat for us and tell us what the headline will be after the spring game this year for Michigan State?
I can't do that. I wish I could, but I can't. I don't like to get into the hypotheticals or the crystal ball business, but if you have a specific question, I can give you a specific answer.
All right, I'll try it this way. What excites you most about this group of guys that you have working right now?
They're hungry and they have a chip on their shoulder, just like our coaching staff. That excites me. They love football. They live football, and like I said from day one, I mean, if you like football, then you probably got a shot with me, and that's what I feel from this group. There's a different vibe in the building, in the locker room, in the weight room. There's a different type of energy. We're moving forward. We're gaining ground. There's better understanding. There's more buy-in. There's more trust, and the guys are returning. We've been through some things together, and that's important too. I mean, you really don't know what you have until it starts hitting the fan, and so we've been through it, and so we know what to expect out of each other, and so it's just I'm excited about that. I love building players. I love building teams. I love building a winning culture, and so that's what motivates me to sleep fast and hit the ground running every morning.
I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk to you tomorrow, but having some of the former players back on campus for pro day tomorrow, and of course your guys that are entering the draft this year. I mean, just how fun is that to see some of these guys come back and get to see them and have them try to chase their dreams even further?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've gotten a lot of texts from players, thanking us for allowing them to come back and work out for the scouts, and it's a benefit to the scouts as well. They want to see them. So most of the players have a dream of playing in the NFL, at least getting a shot. And so anything that we can do to help them reach their dreams, in terms of the NFL, I think we owe it to our players to do that. Certainly they put the work in here for us. We need to help them out as much as we can.
Thanks. And just to know, we probably will have Coach for a few minutes tomorrow for Pro Day too, if anybody has questions on those guys, so we can do that tomorrow. We have a couple more here to wrap up. We'll go to Graham Couch and Lansing State Journal. Graham?
Hey, Mel, I'm wondering how the vaccine changes things for you and your guys. Is everybody at their age group is now able to sign up and get vaccinated? Will that happen during spring practice? When will that happen? How does that change sort of protocols and all the things you guys have to go through?
No, I don't have the details at this moment about the timing of the vaccine and who's going to get it, when they're going to get it, and then what that will look like, once that happens. But it's certainly going to be a game changer for us. But to what extent and how soon, I'm not really sure. We're testing 6 days a week right now, which allows us to practice, which allows us to have normal workouts and normal meetings and things like that. I would encourage everyone that has the opportunity to get the vaccine to get it, and hopefully in doing so that we can continue to get closer and closer to a more normal existence.
Our next question will go to Audrey Dahlgren with WLNS.
Hi, Mel. Hope you're doing well today. With this being your 25th spring, I don't know if you could appease us a little bit and take some time to reflect, if you could do that. But what's the biggest thing that you've learned during your time in these 25 years of spring ball? And I guess, yeah, the biggest thing that you've learned and just how different it is from back then.
Yeah, well, if I want to reflect a little bit, I remember my first spring as a coach. I had a lot more hair, and I was a lot slimmer back then. That was 25 years. It's gone. It's gone pretty fast. What have I learned? I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. I mean, you learn something new every day, and I believe in lifelong learning. Just always getting better. But I think what's most important is understanding that there's a process in building a team, and building a culture, and in sustaining a culture, and every time you change, you can change even one player. It's almost like you have a new team, and so just the fundamentals of your culture have to take hold. You have to have foundational values and standards and expectations and things like that. And so what I've learned is to trust the process, explain the process, work the process, and don't get too far ahead of yourself. We have our out of season Spartan training program, STP. We have phase 1 was 4 weeks without the coaches, just the strength coaches. Phase 2 was 4 weeks with the strength coaches and position coaches added in, and then this is phase 3. It's spring ball. We go to phase 4, which would be summer. 5 would be preseason camp, and 6 would be the season. And so, I use the term out of season instead of off season, because when you look at it, there is no off season. It's a continuous process. It just never stops. It's like perpetual motion. And so, in every phase, has a history and a life of its own. Just like every play has a history and a life of its own. Every day has a history and a life of its own. And we just take it step by step within that process. And as we trust that and we work it, and we always continue to adapt and adjust and get better. That's how you build, and that's how you build a program. That's how you sustain a winning program, is just having a process, trusting it, and sticking with it.
We have time for a couple more before Drew joins us here. We'll go back to Chris Solar, the Detroit Free Press.
Mel, I kind of wondered if you had any plans in terms of, normally this time of year you guys would bring in recruits to watch what you're doing. I mean, do you have any plans to do things special or different to get them more or less in there virtually from a recruiting standpoint? And I guess from a dead period standpoint that has been, how do you guys just kind of wait this out? Do you want to start getting them in person again? I would imagine.
Yeah, yes, that's a good question. We've been doing virtual visits and tours, since for a number of months now. I mean, we signed the 21 class. I mean, it was all virtual, and we're doing the same thing now. Every day, multiple virtual visits. We have a process for that, and we get with the prospects and their parents or their guardian, their coach, and we get them on Zoom, and we lay out and lay out our program and give them the information that they need about every aspect of our program, whether it's the coaching, the X's and O's, the strength and conditioning, nutrition, academics, player engagement, athletic training, career development, all those things. We lay it out the best we can, virtually. We use graphics, we use video. We have a lot of conversation. We do a lot of listening. We answer a lot of questions, and we do that. And as soon as we're allowed to have players on campus, prospects on campus, we're going to have them in here in a major way. And we're in the process of setting up, visits, penciling in, official visit dates and things like that in anticipation of at some point, the dead period being lifted, and then we can actually get players here to see us face to face. I mean, we're recruiting guys and getting commitments, and we've signed players, and we haven't even had a chance to meet them face to face.
I was wondering, as kind of a follow to that, over the last year, what has changed about your job, your profession, that you feel can stick, and you know what I mean? Not so you had to adapt, but sometimes things come out of adaptations that are long-term changes. What do you think is going to stick?
Yeah, I think the Zoom, that Zoom concept is going to stick quite a bit. I mean, like right now, I mean, we're all being tested, 6 days a week, but when we have staff meetings, I don't gather everyone in one room like we used to do back in the day. We zoom it up. It's kind of funny too, because I'll say something, I can hear my voice echoing down the hall here. I mean, everybody's on the floor, and we're all in these separate rooms on a Zoom, and it's actually more efficient, I believe, and it's something you just kind of get used to. It's even when with just even with donors, and it's easier to set up a Zoom, send someone a Zoom link and hop on with them than it is to go and go visit them, or they come visit you, or set up a lunch or set up a dinner or something like that. I mean, it has its advantages, and so and we've really discussed, and we've talked about some of the things that we've learned in this COVID era, the things that we could take into the new normal, and I believe that the Zoom is a big part of that. And the other thing that that's very interesting, I believe, is that, and I don't know if you feel the same way or if you experience this, but just the appreciation of in person, connection, contact, you know, um, you know, something that we've taken for granted, that I've taken for granted, just as normal. It's really, if you think about it, it's really special when you get a chance to, just really connect with somebody, in person, face to face, and just communicate, relate. That's something that I don't think that I'll ever take that for granted again. And so every opportunity that we have to do that, whether it's with our players, with each other as a staff, with with recruits, and with any of our supporters, our fans, we have to treat that special. We have an opportunity to do that.
Thanks, Coach. Looks like we have a couple more. Drew's going to join us here any moment. Stephen Brooks from 24/7 Sports.
Thanks, man. Excuse me. Mel, I want to ask you, are there any players in linebacker and in the secondary that maybe haven't played a lot that you're interested in seeing this spring when you look at it? And the guys that left, whether it was NFL, graduation, transfer, those are two spots that got hit pretty heavy, just numbers wise. I'm curious who those next wave players are that you might be interested in this spring.
Yeah, well, I believe in developing the entire roster. We need everyone. Everyone that's on our roster is important, and our coaches know that that we're tasked with developing every guy, whether he's a walk-on or he's a scholarship player. And so everything is wide open in terms of positions and roster spots and rep charts, depth charts. There's nothing set in stone. And so the guys that are on our roster right now have an opportunity to step up and compete and show us what they can do. And we're going to work really, really hard to develop them and see who emerges in the spring. I mean, we've had one practice. We haven't put the pads on yet. But as the spring kind of unfolds, and as we start to have more padded practices and things become even more intense, I believe that we'll start to see some separation in some guys, and we'll start to see some leaders emerge. In the linebacker position, in the secondary, at every position, we'll see growth. We'll see guys, taking steps forward, and we'll know a lot more about who can help us coming out of the spring, and then we'll have the summer to continue to develop. So we have some good football players on this team, but they're all at different stages of development. What we have to do is we have to get as many guys ready to play winning football as we can between now and when we line up against Northwestern.
Real quickly, I did want to ask. You mentioned when do you put the full pads on, and how many sort of hitting days do you anticipate in this 15?
Yeah, we'll get into practice 3 or 4, and we'll put the pads on, and then we'll be in pads pretty much the rest of the spring. After that, except for maybe the practice before the spring game, we may just be in helmets there. But when we put the pads on, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're scrimmaging.
Right.
We try to stay off the ground when we don't have the pads on, and when we do have the pads on, unless we are scrimmaging, because when you snap the ball, you got 22 guys on the ground, man. I mean, that's bad ball. Guys are gonna get hurt. Guys get tangled up, and I mean, that's just not how you practice. And so, but when you do put the pads on, it does become more physical, and you do find out quite a bit, and there's nowhere to hide.
Got it. Thank you.
Looks like we have time for one more from Jim Comparoni. Jim.
Hey, Mel, Xavier Henderson, is that a guy that can emerge as a leader type of player for you? What were your impressions with him in year one? And who do you see possibly emerging to be a tag team partner with him back there at safety?
Yeah, X is certainly has leadership ability, and he does lead, and his teammates see him as a leader, and I know that because we've surveyed the team, and we've done the research, and so he's a guy that needs to be a leader for us. He's played a lot of football, and I expect him to step up and assume a leadership role and continue to improve as a leader. And then Michael Dowles, he's also a very solid leader. Leads by example. Works hard. He cares. I mean, he's a good teammate. I mean, those are two guys back there that I anticipate can be, just real kind of like glue guys and anchor type of guys where, you know exactly what you're going to get from them, and the teammates know what to expect from them, and they can lead and really help us. At some point, we need to have a player-led team. At some point, and I hope that's sooner rather than later, because the player-led teams are usually the best teams.
I'm interested in a guy like Luke Campbell, also a guy that started 26 games in his career previously. Looks like he's back on the roster today. It's probably just a one step at a time situation for him, I would imagine. What have you learned about him? What can you say about him? And also Matt Allen had some tough situations last year, but he's back giving it a go. Those two guys, a couple of veterans, what do you see for them this spring? What are they trying to get done as they inch along?
Yeah, their guys are have had some injury issues and are just working to get back to full speed. But those two guys love football. I mean, they love the game, and they want to play, and they're here to play. And being on the team is important to them. Playing the game is important to them. Being a Spartan means a lot. Just their teammates. I mean, they just really want to be out there. They're here. They have purpose. They're here for a reason, and I have a lot of respect for both of those guys. And overcoming adversity, working through adversity. It's something that I have a high level of respect for. Injuries are part of the game, and your body is your business. And again, football. And so, anytime you see guys, battling back from injuries, working through adversity, things like that, and still have a fundamental love for the game and a desire to play and compete. I mean, what more could you ask for? And it's our job to do everything we can to help them. So we're working with them, and we're gonna together we'll get it done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today to give a little glimpse at spring practice and talk about the first practice today. We'll catch up with you tomorrow for a few minutes on Zoom for Pro Day tomorrow.
Looking forward to that. Thank you for hopping on the Zoom today, and I really appreciate what you do. We can't get it done without you. We'll see you tomorrow. Go Green.
Thanks, Coach. All right, joining the call now is senior defensive end Drew Beesley. See if Drew's on the call here. There he is. All right, we'll take some questions for Drew. Obviously, Drew is a senior, decided to come back for his sixth season and play in 2021. So he is back here getting ready for his sixth season and getting after it here for spring practice. We'll start with questions, and we'll start with Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press. Chris.
Hey, Drew, good to see you. I was wondering about that decision. It's obviously you get that free year. How much did you weigh that out between the end of last season and the spring semester starting, and what went into that? Like, what kind of things did you think about for you individually that made it right?
Well, I didn't really worry about that decision until we finished the season. And when I found out that that second Maryland game got canceled, I knew I kind of had to, figure stuff out. And, I had talked to my family and, my teammates, and, I just made a choice that I thought was best for me, and I talked to guys like Matt Allen and Luke Campbell, who are in the same position I'm in. And, I kind of got their perspective on the situation also. And I asked them, why would you guys want to come back? And they're like, why wouldn't we want to come back? This is a truly special place. And, the culture and the people that are here and the environment that Coach Tucker is creating, that was just something that I wanted to be a part of. And I feel like I would regret if I missed out on it. So, yeah. And on top of that, I'm furthering my education and I'm adding another year of film to my resume. So, I mean, there's more pros to coming back than anything else.
How much did the way you played in those 7 games last year, if it was maybe 2-3 years ago versus now, when you're on the ascent, how much did that play into your decision too?
I don't think it did at all. I feel like this was a decision where I could further my future past football. And, obviously I finished with my economics degree, which I'm thankful for. And, there's just another opportunity to, add something else to my name. And I'm pursuing a grad program for sports coaching and leadership, which is something I potentially would like to do in the future. So yeah, it's just another opportunity to better myself as a football player and as a person.
Our next question will go to Matt Charbonneau, the Detroit News.
Drew, obviously you've been through your share of spring practices, but considering how last year played out and now getting back to it, close to normal at this point, what does it feel like kind of getting back and having a real spring practice after a real off-season conditioning? Does it feel like it's getting closer to what you're used to, at least?
Yeah, it's definitely, we're definitely making up for lost time, around this time last year. And, we've gone through a season where we've dealt with COVID and all the protocols and things like that. So, and we're just kind of nearing towards the end of this pandemic, which I'm thankful for. But it's just good to finally get it, my last year, to not miss out on spring ball. It was something I look forward to every March or April. And, it's a fun time, being with the guys and, working out with them and, trying to get better and get ready for the fall.
And you talked about the decision you made to come back. Other guys had that decision as well. There's been people out in the transfer portal, people in, you got early enrollees. Does it feel like there's maybe more new faces than usual at this time of year? And how much do you work on trying to integrate everybody and getting everyone kind of buying in a quick manner, I guess?
Yeah, it's definitely different with the new faces. Like we hit the transfer portal pretty hard, and we had a handful of early enrollees come in, and it's definitely a high level of competition, which is a good thing. And everybody's got a role, and this is spring ball is something that we can figure out who's gonna do what role, and we got to figure out how to do it and why we're doing it, and we got to do it to the best of our ability.
Next question is from Stephen Brooks with 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Drew, hope you're doing well. Wanted to ask you about Drew Jordan and what you've seen from him. I know it's very early, obviously, but I'm just curious, what do you think of him as a player? Does he compare to anybody you've played with or I guess played against maybe? Just curious about his skill set and what you've noticed from him so far.
DJ is a very versatile guy. He's super strong, he's super athletic, he's super fast, and he can play any position on the defensive line. He brings he brings a very unusual skill set that not a lot of guys have. And he's not I would say he's one of the rather bigger DNs that I've played with. And, you know, for 270-pound guy, you know, he makes it look really, really fast and quick. So, and plus, you know, he's got a great work ethic. He's always wanting to get better. And, you know, me and him, we're always watching film together, you know, trying to get him involved in the system and just, you know, trying to get him to get used to the new terminology that he's not used to yet. So,
As a follow to that, when you talk about him and the other transfer guys, and you mentioned culture at the top, you wanted to come back and be a part of this culture. And Coach Tucker just talked a lot about building the culture this spring. What's that process like of trying to build a culture, but bringing these new guys in at the same time and mixing them in with that while you guys are, building on last year and still sort of moving that forward? Just what's that challenge like, or that dynamic, I guess, is a better word of bringing these new guys in, trying to build that culture simultaneously?
well, it's like I said before, you know, everybody has the same goal of trying to get to the Big Ten championship, and everybody's got to do their part. And, you know, regardless if you're a transfer or a freshman or you're a 6-year senior or you're a coach, you know, you're trying to get to the ultimate goal, which is the Big Ten championship. And, you know, everybody's got to do their part, and we got to play good complementary football, which I'm sure Coach Tucker likes to talk about. And, you know, we just got to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And that's what this spring ball is going to do for us, because I feel like we definitely missed out, you know, with spring ball not happening last season.
Sure. Thanks, man.
Yes, sir.
Next question will go to Matt Wenzel with M Live.
Hey, Drew, we saw the roster today, and Brandon Wright's now listed as a defensive end, and Mel talked about him a little bit earlier. I mean, this is a guy that you were trying to tackle the last 2 years in practice, I assume, and what have you seen from him now that he's over with you guys?
He's, you know, he played a lot of running backs, so he's a very quick guy. You know, we just got to get him used to the system a little bit more. You know, I got to work on his technique a little bit. But, you know, he shows promise in his pass rush, and, you know, he can help us out potentially on the third down passes for sure.
Thanks, Drew.
Next question will go to Rainer Saban of the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Drew, can you talk about what the feeling is, I guess, right now versus this time last year? You guys were just kind of getting familiar with Mel, and then obviously the pandemic hit. And, you know, now you've had a year with him, and looking forward, I mean, how different is the vibe now versus then?
Well, I can definitely say, you know, with missing spring ball last season, you know, our guys were definitely eager to get started. And when we went out for practice this morning, you know, everybody was hype. Everyone was having fun, you know, doing their job, running to the ball, trying to make each other better, staying safe, of course. But yeah, it's just like, it's just a fun party that, you know, us guys like to have, and, you know, we're just having fun with each other. And, you know, I feel like that's the most important thing for our guys, is especially with the new guys coming in, you know, it's all business, but at the same time, we're just having a good time.
Going back to last year, you guys had your moments. I mean, obviously beating Michigan and Northwestern, but I mean, there was a level of inconsistency. How important is it in year two to kind of establish more consistency where you can, you know, I guess, harness the momentum from those really good performances and carry it over to the next week?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, consistency is a very important thing. And, you know, there were a lot of games that I felt we could have won last year, but, you know, we just got to constantly and keep that consistency going, playing that good complementary football. The defense, you know, we got to help the offense, you know, get more opportunities to score, and, you know, special teams, you know, that plays a part too, getting good field position, things like that. So, you know, when we put all the pieces of the puzzle and everyone does their job, like the way we did against Michigan and Northwestern, you know, good things will happen. And I feel like this upcoming season, you know, we'll have more opportunities to win big games like that.
Thanks.
We have time for a couple more before Connor joins us. We'll go to Audrey Dahlgren with WLNS.
Drew, going off of that fun party vibe, I guess, what was the best part about just stepping out onto the field today with your teammates?
Well, it's just, with, the pandemic and, being away for a little bit this December and January, it's just finally, being back out there with your brothers and having a good time because, I feel like, I'm nothing without my brothers and, just, there's not much I'd rather do than hang out with them because, they make me happy and, it's just a fun time.
And then where would you rate your guys' confidence right now in terms of where you were last year compared to now in terms of the scheme and just how comfortable you are with the staff and just if you could describe the differences between last year at this time to right now?
Well, I feel like, with the season that we had and, I feel like we're more comfortable now with both the system and the coaches. I feel like everybody's a little more loose and confident in, who they are and what their game's like. And, right now we're just trying to figure out ways to self-improve as a team. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our last question for Drew is from Jim Comparoni with Spartan Magazine.
Yeah, Drew, speaking about improvement, where would you like to improve? In which ways would you like to improve as a player? What are you trying to get better at?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that I like to improve in. Obviously, I like to improve in my pass rush. You can never get too good at that. And as a player, I feel like, leadership is another thing that I'd like to improve on. Me and Coach Tuck had a couple talks and, I got to be the guy because I am one of the older players on the team. And I feel like it's my job to, help set the standard for all the young guys and the newcomers and show them what Spartan football is all about. So I would say those two things are the main priority is my pass rush, which I'm working on right now, and my leadership.
And winter conditioning, you've been through a few of those at Michigan State. How would you characterize winter conditioning this past winter? What was it like?
It was mentally challenging as long as physically challenging. Coach Novak and his staff, they put our feet to the fire and, they challenged us. And, when you're in big games and, clutch moments like that, you got to find a way to push through. And, I feel like Coach Novak's program really emphasizes, pushing through mentally and physically. So, and I feel like all of our guys did a very good job with that.
All right. Thank you.
Drew, thanks for taking some time today. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you
in
practices. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Go green.
Go white.
Connor picks right up where Drew left off. We're joined now by running back Connor Heyward. We'll take questions in the chat for Connor as we get started here. And we'll start with Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Connor, I wonder if you can just kind of the last year plus. I mean, you were a guy that entered the portal and stuck. I guess now that you see all these other guys and the movement that's going on with the team bringing guys in, what's the difference maybe in the year of all that, and how much of a dynamic change has there been with Coach Tucker?
Today in this age, you got to be able to compete, and Coach Tuck's going to bring in, guys that, ultimately can help us. And I believe all the guys that we've brought in can definitely help this team in a lot of different ways. And offense, defense, special teams, just, even if we got guys at those positions, you need depth in this league, in the Power 5 conference, let alone. But yeah, the portal, it's a weird dynamic, but, that's kind of like, it's like high school recruiting again, it's just coaches hitting you up and you really get to make the decision, what you think is best for me. And I believe coming back to Michigan State was best for me. And I'm glad that I made that decision.
How much did practice one today maybe feel different than practice one last fall?
Practice one last fall, and practice one today in spring ball was completely different. Last fall, I felt like we were learning on the fly. Everything was rushed, and mentally, it takes a toll on you because you're just constantly thinking. You can't just go out there and play. Today, install one. There's bits and pieces from last year, but we also, have our wrinkles and different things like that. But regardless of it, you're going to be thinking in football. But the less you think, the more you can play and just go out there and execute better. I feel like in this spring, I feel like we've really been able to sit down and go up to coaches and ask questions and stuff like that, and just reevaluate different things that we might have had problems with throughout the year.
Next question is from Matt Charbonneau, the Detroit News.
Connor, with some guys coming in the portal, guys signed, all that, you've got a pretty crowded running back room at this point. It's always been competitive back there, but what's the approach this spring with so many guys? And I'm sure most of you guys all think, you're all competing to be that number one guy. What's that like in that room, you think, this spring, and what's the mindset with everybody going in?
Yeah, everybody's mindset, everybody wants to be the guy, no matter if you're the running back, quarterback. But the good thing about running back is you play multiple guys. You don't just play one guy. Everybody, I feel like in our room, brings a different skill set to the table. And, everybody's going to go out there and just compete every day. And I feel like that just makes the man next to you better as an individual and, as a football player.
And then obviously you've been, in your fourth season now here. Do you kind of take on that leadership? I know you've had a leadership role as it is, but especially now with so many guys in there, are you trying to be that leader in that room and just kind of keep everyone, on task in there?
Yeah, I feel like I've always led by example, but I feel like anybody can lead by example. So I've been trying to be more vocal. But in order to be more vocal, I feel like you have to overachieve. You can't just be average. You got to set yourself apart and how you conduct yourself and how you go about your business and, just the way you carry yourself.
Our next question is from Matt Wenzel with M Live.
Hey, Connor, Mel earlier said that there's you just sensed a different vibe, a different energy with the team right now. I guess how do you equate that with being maybe just part of the start of spring practice, but also being second year with this staff and kind of everybody knows what the deal is?
Everybody's just excited because it's football, and on top of that, we all in this offseason have watched film and saw little missed details that really affected the big play or, big runs, big passes, just one guy doing the wrong thing. And we're just eager to get out there. And, I feel like this year we'll be all on the same page more, which will lead to more touchdowns, more stops, big plays on special teams, and ultimately big wins.
With the hecticness of 2020 with the starts and the stops and games canceled and all that, is there anything you look back on that season that you're going to take away that you think is a lesson learned that can apply for maybe you or your teammates going into this fall?
Just life. 2020 has been a crazy year. A lot of people, have died from COVID, and it's a very serious thing that's still going on today. But it just basically, I feel like it's taught all of us not to take football for granted because we were all at home. Yeah, we were working out, but we weren't here with our brothers or, anybody just being able to do what we love and what we're just so comfortable doing. And sometimes when you have that taken away from you, you just sit back and really miss it. And makes moments like these more exciting and appreciative.
Thanks, Connor.
Our next question, I'll go back to Chris Slar, the Detroit Free Press.
Connor, I wonder if you can kind of give us a little breakdown of the room right now, and especially with Kenneth coming in, what the dynamic is with him, and just, what an extra year of being behind that line and learning the system has done. I mean, what are you seeing from the guys one practice in?
One practice in, I can definitely tell that all of us have gotten in better shape, offensive, defensively, and our coaching staff is going to continue to push us, and no practice is going to be easy. But Ken's a really good, quick guy, quick twitch guy, strong back. But I think we all have different skill sets. But Elijah, I feel like he's gotten his weight back up. Jordan's getting stronger. Donovan England, he's looking nice. Just everybody, I feel like with Coach Novak and this entire strength staff, Coach Guest, Coach Danson, Coach Porter, and Coach Powell, they've really invested all their time with us, and it's not been easy, but I can definitely see it paying off for all of us.
What was last year like for a running back? I mean, you mentioned the stops and starts, but you had the abnormal training. I mean, you guys take the brunt of the hits a lot of times, and what was that year like in terms of getting through the season?
I feel like every week we got better at something, even though we weren't winning and it didn't show that we were getting better. But when you watch the film, we weren't making the mistakes we were making week one. Michigan game, we played complementary football, and you saw what we are capable of doing when we don't turn the ball over, when we don't have mental errors, and when we're just locked in and we communicate. Our coaches have really emphasized, communication and just being able to be accountable, because in football, communication is key. It doesn't matter if they know we're running the ball. I mean, you just got to be able, if y'all on the same page, they got to stop it. And I feel like we were just sometimes not on the same page, which is football. And sometimes you're not going to be on the same page and some things will work, but you can't get away with it forever.
Looks like our final question for Connor is from Justin Rose.
Hey, Connor, how you doing? I know there's still a long way to go until games are played, obviously, but if you could maybe just speak on how different will this team look to the outside world come, either a spring game or the fall, just from what we've seen, because it seems like you guys have been working in different ways and stuff, but with things opening back up and football getting back to normal, do you think that people will be surprised with how you guys look now?
I definitely think people will be surprised. I don't think people have us really do anything. We went 2-6 last year, which was terrible. But I think a lot of teams, they'll see a disciplined football team, a hardworking football team, a relentless football team, a team that's just going to go out there and lay it all out, and a team that's going to sacrifice anything, and a team that's just going to be crisp and sharp, honestly, and just we're going to have, our moments, but I don't think they will last long. And if they do, it won't be a spurt or anything. It'll be, a really quick turnaround, and a team that can, we can be down 7-14-0, but come back because we just have all this talent and all the work we put in, sky's the limit.
Thanks, man.
All right, looks like that's all the questions we have. Connor, really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Have a nice day.
All right, thanks everybody. We'll send out video and photos from practice today, and I'll send a link out for Pro Day. Pro Day tomorrow will probably be more around 1:15. Coach Tucker will join for a few minutes to talk about the players that came back, and I'll get as many guys as I can that are in Pro Day tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how many are you thinking numbers wise?
I'll get Coach Tucker for sure. I'll get Antoine, Naquan, and Shakur, and then I'll try to see who else is back and working out and try to get as many. Just shoot me a text or an email if there's somebody in particular that you're looking for, and then we'll shoot B-roll and photos and get everything out to you tomorrow as well.
Sounds good, man.
Thank you.
Do you have a list of the Pro Day people, all the returners and stuff?
I'll check on that, and if I have a final list, I will send that out to you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Ben, may I ask you one more question? What
Yes.
time are they starting practices on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays? Do they get out there? What time do they usually get out there?
Today they got out. They started at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
I got
Curious.
daily schedules, but yeah, usually it's today was in the morning. So.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
man.